let me introduce you to our guest who will be starting off with our first session today, which is going to be very, very interesting. Pioneering the AI frontier from moonshots to real-world impact. We've got very interesting personalities joining us on stage. The moderator for this session is going to be Michelle Hennessy, graphic detail editor, The Economist. Michelle is a graphic detail editor at The Economist, leads the publication's data visualization and infographic efforts, has a keen eye for storytelling through data and design. Her work has been recognized for its clarity and impact. She is a sought-after speaker on data visualization and journalism. Please put your hands together. Give a big round of applause to Michelle. So Michelle is going to be the moderator for the session we are starting off. Thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. And ladies and gentlemen, the speaker for this morning is going to be a celebrated personality, Sebastian Thrun, founder Google X, a renowned innovator and entrepreneur. Founder of Google X, the secretive research and development arm of Google. Thrun is also known for his work on autonomous vehicles and artificial intelligence. He has co-founded several companies, including Udacity and Waymo. He is a pioneer in the field of AI and robotics. Please put your hands together. Give a big round of applause to Sebastian. Request you to kindly join us up on stage, Sebastian, or I'll leave it to the moderator, however you would want to invite your speaker on stage.
Okay. Let me introduce Sebastian in a bit, but good morning, everyone. My name's Michelle Hennessy, editor of The Economist graphic detail section, and welcome to you all to day 2 of Future Proof Innovate for Impact 2025, sponsored by the government of Karnataka. Yesterday, we explored sustainability and the role of industries in driving green growth. Today, we're pivoting to the power of innovation and how AI is redefining what's possible. AI is a force shaping industries, economies, and human potential, and AI moonshots are now delivering real-world impact in areas ranging from autonomous systems to groundbreaking scientific research. Our keynote session today is called Pioneering the AI Frontier from Moonshots to Real-World Impact. It will explore how ambitious AI-driven innovations move from bold ideas to tangible outcomes. We'll hear from Sebastian Thrun, the founder of Google X, who has led transformative AI projects, and we'll discuss what it takes to turn radical ideas into global breakthroughs. I do want to leave plenty of time at the end for questions from you, the audience, and so we'll do questions at the end of the interview. But with that, it's my pleasure to welcome Sebastian onto the stage. Sebastian, thank you so much for being with us here today.
I'm excited to be here.
So I want to start going back to basics before we move on to anything more complicated. So moonshot ideas, what are they? What is the moonshot frame of mind?
The moonshot idea is a transformation of some important societal problem with new technologies. If you look at the last 100 years, last 50 years, last 20 years, technologies have been the driving factor for all of society. I personally believe that most things have not been invented yet. Moonshot is just pushing the state-of-the-art technology into some important societal area.
And what are some examples that we maybe now take for granted, but it started with that big idea? And what sort of countries do these tend to come from?
So our most best-known example is Waymo, self-driving cars. If you come to San Francisco, you can take a ride in a driverless car today. It's really fun. And it's going to come here to India at some point. It's going to be harder here than in San Francisco, obviously. But also, we had this idea of building massive AI in 2010 at Google and built Google Brain. Google Brain then invented things like transformers and is really the stepping only unit that made the modern AI very possible.
And maybe you can let us into some secrets. What do you think is going to be the next big idea? What is now in its infancy but could one day transform a global breakthrough?
I mean, just the commissioner walked me kindly through the various exhibits here. Just seeing some of these projects is kind of amazing to see how AI is being leveraged in transportation, in military defense, and so on. I personally believe almost anything will be invented. So for example, my sister died recently of cancer. And the sad stuff, part of the story is that the cancer was very healable, but it was found too late. It was a breast cancer. I think that that's not going to happen in the future anymore when we invent better AI that monitors us every single day and diagnoses us every single day for things that are possibly lethal and not yet symptomatic. I think we saw a prototype of a flying car here. I think at some point here in Bangalore, you're going to fly to the airport. It's not going to take an hour. It's going to take 5 minutes. And you'll be very, very happy about this. And your roads will be empty, and you can put green areas there. These are just 2 examples of things that are going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
And these all sound really promising, but I presume a lot of this job is also dealing with failure, right? So just between you and me and the few hundred people in the office, in the audience, how many of these moonshot ideas are actually a success, and how much of it is dealing with failure?
So at X, this is for private consumption only, we had a lot of failures. My most famous failure was Google Glass, which I thought would at some point replace the smartphone, that it hasn't. In fact, it's quite the opposite happened. And it was an audacious idea. We loved it, but I don't think it was correctly executed on my end, so I take the blame for it. We put at some point balloons into the stratosphere to build a Starlink-like network to communicate. That failed Loon, in part because of geopolitical considerations. Putting it into space is much easier than putting it into the stratosphere from a geopolitical perspective. But you know what? In Silicon Valley, you always look at these marvels of like success, like Facebook and Google, but for every success, there's like 1,000 failures. And that's really important. And it's really important to remember, because failures are actually good things. They teach you new lessons. You learn something interesting. And hopefully you never make the same mistake twice again.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, what percentage do you think of ideas actually make it, and how many of them fail?
My personal average is about 30% made it, 40% made it. That's pretty much the same as the world's best baseball players. Like sports people also fail, turns out. So it's not, people in soccer fail, people in cricket fail. So the 30-40% is actually pretty good. If you look at investment perspective, the work we did at Google X probably created $200-300 billion of valuation in Google, inside YouTube and other places in Google. And it cost us tens of millions of dollars to do this. So the nice thing about investments is if you fail, then you lose your money. But if you succeed, you might get 1,000 times your money back. And that makes it worthwhile to invest.
Yeah, so I ask you this, of course, not to embarrass you, but I'm sort of, it seems like risk needs to be baked into this model then, and you need to take risks in order to have a shot at this idea happening. How do you get investors on board for that?
First, life is no fun without risk. Like anybody who doesn't want risk work for the government, I don't know. I would just get so bored doing this. So I want a situation where there's risk, mostly not because, at some level, I hate risk. I would love to make everything work. But I want to be in a situation where I can learn something interesting new and possibly invent something that wasn't there before. Like we had a company that I started that became a global education company. Very, very risky, but ended up working out very, very well. So from my perspective, risk, I don't seek risk. Like I don't jump down out of an open airplane without a parachute. That would be stupid. I kind of hate risk, but I also want to do things that drive the world forward. So risk is a necessary element of it. From the investment perspective, there tends to be an easy thing for me. The ideas that I worked on and X worked on were big enough that investors believed putting money in is worthwhile. And I actually encourage this. I encourage anybody in the room here to invest. This is, if you look at history and make a graph of inventions over time, like 300,000 years, the wheel, the fire, right? And then all of a sudden, the last 100 years, it goes zoop. And that to me means we are really in a singularity. Like, we can't, I used to be able to predict like 5-10 years from now. I can't even predict 3 years from now anymore. Like 3 years ago, had you asked me about what's going to happen in AI, I would say, yeah, this and that, but not ChatGPT, not large language models. So I can't tell you where the world is going to be 3 years from now. And that's a good thing, which means likely someone in the audience or outside among all these student competitions, there's a genius who's going to invent something amazing, and I hope you're going to invest in them.
So once you have your big ideas, what is the sort of roadmap then to kicking it off? What are some of the advice that you have for sort of tangible steps that you take once you have your idea?
Yeah. All great companies are built by large teams, and all great ideas are built by small teams. Like, you're not going to climb Mount Everest with 10,000 people. You're going to climb Mount Everest with like 4 people or 5 people. So it's really important to find a small group of people. And then what we did at Google is we shielded them. We made sure that no one knew they existed, that the management didn't know about this, the finance department didn't know about them, the CEO knew about them. We had to tell somebody. But by and large, we said, get into a corner and build a car that can drive anywhere in San Francisco. And the team went to work every day, undeterred by, I don't know, management, and just built this car that drove after like a year and a half everywhere in San Francisco. And you kind of need this mentality of a startup to do this. Startups, by definition, are small teams. They're all desperate. They're all almost dying. And that's kind of the right basis point for innovation. If you make it something big, company-wide, you'll probably set yourself up for failure.
And can anyone have a moonshot idea? Can I have a moonshot idea, or does it require a certain frame of mind?
The way to do this is pick something that really bothers you, like something you don't like. Now, some things I don't like are not easy to solve, like, I don't know, supersonic travel. I love to come to San Francisco to Bangalore in 1 hour. But very often, there's technologies out there that you can test and try, especially in the age of AI. Right? For example, half my work is work I don't like doing. Like, I don't like filing my taxes. There's a lot of email I don't like, working with my accountants and so on, my lawyers. If I could automate this, it'd be amazing. If I could make myself twice as efficient, I'm radically changing the world. And we're at the brink of doing this today for almost everybody. It has just happened for software engineers. Software engineers are now twice as efficient as they used to be even 2 years ago because of AI. It's going to happen with lawyers. It's going to happen with marketing people, with all kinds of people who create content, with all kinds of research people. In these areas, just pick something that really, really bothers you, and not just you, but many, many people, and ask yourself, is there a technological idea that could conceivably do this? And the answer is likely yes, and then just go do it.
I want to move on to talk about regulation. How is the conversation around that shifting at the moment?
I mean, when AI came out, people were scared, right? It was this, oh my God, it's going to eat you and destroy humanity. What people at that moment overlooked is what it actually really was, okay? AI in the early days, large language models, are next word predictors. So that they look at massive numbers of text, hundreds of billions of documents, and ask themselves, what is a good next word? Predicting the next word is not going to destroy humanity, okay, just for the footnote. And then we saw this big wave of, oh my God, it's dangerous, unethical, unfair, biased. Some of us, myself excluded, even signed a document saying we should wait half a year. And then, a month ago, China came up with its latest AI version. Much different price point, shocked the world. And at least where I live, the word regulation doesn't show up anymore. Now it's competition. And that's the right mindset, okay? Anybody who regulates, yes, please regulate when there is abuse, but not before. Let the technology play out. Observe if it's played out the way you like it, and then do regulations to prohibit the misuses you're going to inevitably see. But don't regulate before the technology is even there, AKA Europe.
So you don't think there should be regulations at the moment? Or a framework for guiding the development of AI?
Yes, so regulators are really important. And they are part of us. We pay them. My tax money pays for regulators. They're there to safeguard society, okay? They're there to minimize abuse of. And there's really good, for example, there's laws. I can't take my kitchen knife and stab somebody. That's illegal. But I still can have a kitchen knife to cut my produce. In AI, it's the same thing. Yes, there's abuses of AI. I'm not allowed to use AI for cyber criminal activities. Like deep fakes is something we should be very careful about. But heaven's sake, that doesn't make the entire technology illegal. We should really think about the opportunities. And the way I think regulation generally should work in these fields is that you see the abuse first, and then you regulate. And I'm telling you, as somebody who's built one of the most dangerous AI systems on the planet, the self-driving car. If you're in a self-driving car, and the car hallucinates, it might kill somebody. Whereas if a large language model hallucinates, it says the wrong word, okay? It's a very different dimension. Why does the self-driving car we built not kill anybody? Is because we as a company, Waymo, we didn't want to kill anybody. We cared about the safety as much as the regulator. And we worked with regulators from day one to ask ourselves, what's the right framework to create societal confidence and comfort with this new technology? And that led to a very productive collaboration of regulators and technologists. When you get in the room, if you're a technologist, respect your regulators. If you're a regulator, respect your technologists. You have the same interest in mind. You want to keep society safe. Both sides want to. And work together to harvest the good of technology. Don't just unilaterally forbid. That's going to just destroy progress. And if you look at Europe, I think Europe is taking a big hit. In fact, even China is taking a hit from regulations in AI.
Compared with America?
With America, yeah.
And so how do you think that, or do you think there should be a global framework, or do you think each country is sort of going at it by themselves?
Again, if my recommendation for India is invest in progress, invest in technology, and bring this technology to the people, and have a broad dialogue with the people what this actually means and what you want. And when you see abuse, when you see the technology being misused against the interests of the people, then have legislators and regulators step in and ask themselves how to prevent this. And this worked for many, many technologies, not just AI. There's very few exceptions. I'd say nuclear weapons should be regulated differently. You shouldn't just hand them out to everybody, see the abuse, and then wait for the abuse to regulate it. But AI is not a nuclear weapon. AI is a technology that helps you create content and do research.
How difficult is it at the moment for the private sector to navigate all these different conversations and these changing conversations about regulation? Is it holding the private sector back, even in places like America?
Not in Silicon Valley, really not. We've, as a field, have had a very positive relationship with Washington, D.C. and the world's regulators. And we've always phrased it as a dialogue to work on this together. Again, this technology is going to affect everybody, so everybody has a say. It's not just technologists. And I always deeply believe that regulators, deep in their heart, want the same thing that I want, which is safety and progress and innovation. And as long as that conversation is constructive, we can find a path and look at those dangers. There's dangers that we are going to be blind to as technologists because we're very technology savvy and we command it. There's certainly displacement of jobs and so on that we have to worry about. And I think the broader the dialogue, the better. But it has to be a dialogue. It has to be a conversation.
You mentioned jobs, and that's a concern that I hear often is how this is going to affect the job market. How, when people are developing these moonshot ideas, are they developing replacements for human workers? Is that an inevitability, or are these ideas going to complement human workers?
So I'm a deep believer that technology complements people. I'm a very deep believer we're not in a zero-sum game. And some people think, okay, if you build something over here that does this job, it's going to take the work away, and then this person over here can never, ever work again. Historically, we went in the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s through loons and then steam engines and so on, and changed the world from agriculture to an industrial world. And it has not led to a shortage of jobs per se. It has to a change of jobs. It used to be in Europe, 95% in agriculture, now it's about 2%, 1% to 2%. But there's new jobs. There's airline pilot, there's software engineers, massage therapists, a TV anchor. There's so many different new jobs that came along. In this new world, I think the very first thing we're going to see is we're going to create more wealth. We're going to create more wealth and more capabilities, and we're going to democratize skills. Just as Google has already democratized access to knowledge, we're now going to democratize access to skills, like writing a legal document, doing the medical diagnostics, and so on. I see enormous opportunity here to really advance ourselves as society.
Is that the same everywhere, or is that in countries like America, and then there's a different outcome for emerging economies, or is it a global phenomenon?
I mean, this is your chance in India. I mean, you have the brightest people in the world. I can tell you because most of our CEOs in America are Indian in the tech world. Okay, you're doing something right here. At least your export to us, like Satya Nadella and all these people, is a great export. Thank you so much for this. It's a great opportunity because this is a software thing, right? So you don't need massive industry, you don't need massive energy, you don't need to be Germany. You can actually build this with like 3 or 4 people in a dorm, in a coffee shop, and innovate the world. If you just look at the most recent Chinese example of the network that they released, all novices, no background in AI, built the lowest cost competitor to OpenAI and other companies basically in a dorm in China. So this is a moment where you can truly democratize and be on par with the best of the best in the world, which you in many ways already are. If you take that attitude to innovate. If you take the attitude of Europe to regulate, then good luck. I know it's changed last week with the new conference in France and the commitment, but the DNA there is very different.
I mean, and there's no shortage of ideas, right, in government and CEOs, I'm sure, in this room. So how do you take moonshot ideas and assess their potential?
Well, so for me, a moonshot idea is a big societal problem that you care about, a new technology, and a great team of people. And the team could be a team of 3 or 4 people. Those put together make a great moonshot. And it's kind of the same thing that makes a great startup company in Silicon Valley. It's like a great societal problem, great technology, and great people. I believe everyone who runs a big company has these people inside their company, many of them. And they need to be discovered and empowered. And empowering to me means, in Google X what we did is we said, okay, let's find these people and give them a milestone, like something that they should build to document that technology is really feasible. The most famous one for us was, of course, the self-driving car, where we had 1,000 miles carved out in California, and we had to demonstrate to Larry and Sergey, the founders of Google, that the car could drive by itself 100% autonomously. And that looked like really hard in the beginning, and looks completely trivial from today's perspective. It's amazing how 15 years the world has changed. Many of these things have a question mark. You can't guarantee that technology works. So it's going to be an experiment. So you got to set yourself up. But it's better to try and find those people and those ideas than not to try.
You mentioned so many different ideas, so self-driving cars, the internet, different mobile phones. Is there something in common? Is there a common thread for how you envision the ideas and how you start to implement them?
I mean, the biggest innovation by a large margin is software. Software is, I mean, Mark Andreessen said a long time ago, software is eating the world. It's the fastest accelerant of everything because with networks in place, computing in place, you can instantly be global. Like 2 people in a dorm can build a global company today, which was not possible 50 years ago. Apart from this, there's some really exciting stuff in batteries and technologies, nanotechnologies, we saw nanotubes today. There's adjacent fields where software-enabled machines produce better materials and so on. Here's my general thinking about this as a whole. If you look at history of humanity, 300,000 years, and I mentioned this in the beginning, and the last, whatever, 150 years where everything accelerated, to me this means that we are inventing new stuff by the day, and many of the things we care about are not invented yet. I venture to believe that 99% of great inventions have not been made yet, okay? Hear me out on this argument. It's 99% not made, we made only 1% of inventions. And that is, the reality is we didn't invent anything for a long time, and then we invented a little bit, and all of a sudden so much. Like, it's not going to stop, so it's going to exponentially accelerate. Then almost everything you're going to care about in 20 years' time has not been invented. Like, think about that. How much opportunity exists in inventing stuff, like flying cars, for example.
Is there one breakthrough that we're waiting for that will unlock a lot of those inventions, do you think, or are they all going to come at their own pace?
They always come in cascades. I mean, obviously, AI has been the hot topic for the last 2.5 years, and we're going to see this in the next decade trickle into many different fields in a very nonlinear way. Past AI, it's very hard to predict for me what's going to be it. But I think the fact that with AI, we can probably take over 50, 60, 70% of today's work means that a lot of new things will come up that we can try.
Let's end on some predictions with the caveats that no one knows what's really happening. But what are your sort of big predictions for the next 12 months? What do you think are going to be the big issues and the big breakthroughs that we're going to see in the short term?
I think in the next 12 months, we're going to see a lot of AI in the workplace. And this is already the case today. I mentioned software engineers, where people will routinely use AI to really level up at a very different level. This is also going to affect, of course, schools. Like all the homework assignments can be done with AI now, so you have to rethink education quite a bit. I'll see, past 12 months, I see massive impact in human health, in diagnostics, in personalized precision medicine, in faster drug development. I see really good progress in transportation. As I mentioned, I believe that eventually, not just your sandwich will be flown by drones, as today happens in Houston, Texas, but you will yourself fly yourself as opposed to drive yourself. And then we have to see, on the consumer side, what I see is enormous personalization of companies that really can guess what you really want and like for example, in shopping, predictive shopping is a big topic in the United States. Like you open your fridge and all this stuff is already there without you thinking about it. A lot of companies will get a much, much better grasp of what their customers individually really want.
And again, sticking with predictions, sticking with the next 12 months, how much do you think the global race with AI is going to change? Do you think other countries will start to catch up with the US and increasingly with China?
Look, we are in the first inning, right, or the first quarter. We're just beginning, and everything is open. In the United States, what we found is that pretty much everybody can build the same networks, to be honest. And we kind of believed it would cost $100 million, and now we know it's cost $5 million. If you look at the energy that the human brain burns all the way to adulthood, it's like $3,000. So there's certainly a way to go. So secondly, most of these companies are now open sourcing, which behooves me why they do this, but they do this, like especially Meta does it, and probably to, I don't know, torture their competitors, I don't know. But you'll see all of a sudden access of these most latest of these models to everybody in the world. It really levels the playing field, which means it doesn't really matter that much anymore where the model was being made. Is it made in Abu Dhabi, in China, or in North America, or in France, in Paris? The race now is on to turn these models into productivity, into something that we care about. Okay, there's been a lot of talk about AGI and so on, but it's harder, it has proven harder than people think to turn this into actual productivity in your companies. And that race is on, it's a global race, everybody can play with this level. You can download and run all these models on your laptop today, or build it by yourself, GPUs, and run the latest software basically free of charge.
And final thought, sticking with the next 12 months, what are you most excited about? What are you most excited about in this area within the next year?
I mean, I sound like a broken record when I say AI, but just seeing the enormous progress in this world and the ability to really lift us as people up there's so many amazing small things. Like, for example, I would love to build a digital clone of myself. And I would love for all of you to have a digital clone of yourself. So when you get really old, your grandchildren can talk to you long after you're gone. Or I could send my clone to the next Zoom meeting that I don't want to take, and my digital twin would then take the meeting for me. And that's totally within reach now. I mean, this is going to happen in the next few years, that some of us will do this. And think about the potential if you could clone yourself and give your clone all the work you don't want to do.
Well, I hope you can still be with us here and not your clone. Yeah. But I want to hear less from me, more from the audience. What questions do we have? And where are the runners with the microphones? Yes, let's go to the man at the front, please.
Hello, my name is James Song from Singapore. If you have a shot to do a moonshot to use AI to destroy humankind, what would you do?
So first of all, I think destroying humankind is a really bad idea. And today's AI system, just for the record, they have no intentions, they have no objectives, they have no emotions, they have no feelings, they have no ownership. They're just lookup tables, okay? So they're really like a tool. So if you wanted to destroy humanity with AI, you have to have people doing this using AI, okay, today. There's no AI system that has any capabilities to destroy humanity. But what we're going to do, deep fakes is my biggest concern, okay? We live in a world where we take certain things for granted, and now we have an AI that can fool us. And I've met people who lost millions of dollars being fooled into something that wasn't real using AI.
I want to allow time for other people as well, but yes, maybe the gentleman in the back here.
Sebastian, my name is Yash. I'm an avid user of Udacity during my college days. Thank you so much for this wonderful session right now. Definitely I learned more than I could learn from my professor. My question to you is, if you were 25 or 26 as I am today, what would you build in such a fast-paced world, and how would you approach it?
I would dream. I would come up with something crazy and just build it. Something as crazy as a self-driving car. The biggest problem is that people, A, aim low and build something very incremental. And if you aim low, you're going to shoot low. And B, they give up too early. They have a good idea, and when the first 3, 4, 5 iterations don't work, they just give up. So when people ask me what is the most important characteristic for someone to succeed, it's grit. It's grit, and then the willingness to learn. The willingness to be self-critical and understand when we make mistakes. Every one of us makes mistakes every day. Most of us don't reflect on those. They blame others. Blame yourself and be happy about that.
Thank you so much. And I'm building something in the space. Would like to have your time. You are hard to reach. How should I reach you?
My email is my last name at stanford.edu. Anybody just fire me an email.
Okay.
thrun@stanford.edu.
Okay.
We
Thank you
have
so much.
time maybe for one or two more questions. Oh, we're here, yes.
Hello, sir. As you rightly pointed out, the AI should not be regulated before its abuse because it's 50 to 60% of today's work it's taking. Can we make use of AI in regulatory framework? Already it has entered into decision making. It analyzes the data. But can we make use of the AI in regulatory framework or policy making purpose? Already it has entered into work. Work means it can take our manual work, wherein it has to make policies. Can AI will be useful in making the policies or making the regulatory framework?
Oh, you mean if will AI regulate itself?
Yeah, why I'm asking this question? Because countries are trying to regulate AI. How can, if we make use of AI for regulating purpose?
There's a nice adjacent question which I'm going to answer, which is can AI write its own software? And there's a real big push right now to use AI to write the next generation of AI software, which is not the question you're asking. On the regulatory side, it's now very commonplace that AI is being used as a tool for drafting, contract drafting, law drafting, and so on. I don't think that AI regulating AI is a good idea anytime soon.
We have time maybe for just one more question. No, sorry, I just want to hear from one other person, and then I think we're going to have to, yes, please, the gentleman.
Hi, Mr. Sebastian. I've really enjoyed your insights. As you rightly said, Mr. President Trump, right, he made an announcement with an investments related to Stargate. Many people are speculating that it could be an advanced AI-driven defense initiative. So what do you think this means for the future of AI development perspective? Do you think there will be an accelerating of new AI arms?
In the defense space?
In the defense space, yes.
Yeah, so defense is interesting. I went to the front line in Ukraine a few months ago, and you find a picture where you have a mixture of 19th century trench warfare combined with consumer electronic type of drones that fly over it. And the drones have basically made it impossible for either side to move fast. It's been incredibly stationary. I hope the lesson from this is that low-cost swarm-like drones will make it uneconomical and uninteresting to invade other countries. That will be an amazing outcome, because I think we should be in a world where wars just don't exist anymore.
Absolutely.
I see AI as a massive factor in building swarm-type technology. And swarm technology will transform from warfare massively. I've been in a room next to an operator who had a $2,000 drone, dropped a bomb into a $5 million tank, and the tank exploded and was gone. $2,000 for one tank. That's what happened on the front line right now. The Russian artillery is mostly gone. Russian tanks are lost 5,000 or so Russian tanks at this point, using cheap, often Chinese-made drones. To me, the lesson should be, with the right level of intelligence, we just respect our borders and not fight. Because if you don't fight, you can create growth and wealth and security, all the things we care about.
So how excited are you on the scale of 1 to 10 related to investments related to Stargate? Is it a lesson for all the leaders should make such an investments locally as well?
Investment in
the AI, like what Mr. President Trump has done for Stargate.
I don't fully understand the question, sorry.
Okay, what lessons that leaders could learn from Mr. President Trump when it comes to making an investments, the way he started project?
I think
right?
the
That's
question...
a big question to end on, sort of your 60-second answer, and then we will have to wrap up, I suppose.
Yes, the Trump question, I think we're still out there to see what's going to happen. We all, politics has become fun again in America.
Okay,
Every day is something new.
Thank you so much for your time. That was a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sebastian Thrun, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, nobody will stop Sebastian. Request you to kindly be seated where you are. He has to rush to the airport. And what a wonderful moderator you were, Michelle. Can I request you to put your hands together, give a big round of applause to Michelle. Very good questions and very well moderated. And thank you, Sebastian. A humble request to kindly be seated. And let's not rush for the picture and all. Fortunately, he was not supposed to be here until this time, but still he was with us. He is supposed to catch up with the flight. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the session.